welcome. Here we are again. Oh, let's see. We have a new background today. How about you read this for us, Brad Swale?
It's unmarried alcoholic girl bosses when a Catholic athlete speaks to Catholic students at a Catholic school about Catholic values, and it's some alcoholic girl bosses screaming at each other.
I wonder who that's about.
Who?
The whole.
You don't know what it's about? It's about
No.
butt kicker.
Yeah, I know what it's about.
Butt kick. What's his name? Butker.
Bucker.
His
Harrison.
Twitter handle is butt kicker 2 or something like that.
Oh.
Harrison Butker, kicker
Harrison
for the Chiefs.
Butker.
Yeah.
So he talked to the Catholic school and expressed Catholic values, and all he said was, I couldn't have done this without my wife, who chose to be a homemaker, and I love it and whatever. It's not saying you have to do it too, but heaven forbid a man speak truth.
Was it that mild? All he said.
Yes, it was very mild.
I didn't listen to it, but based on what I heard, he said, I think it was probably a little less mild than that, but I don't know. I didn't listen to it.
He was advocating that's a great role, which he's right. But I wouldn't simply say he was just thanking his wife for her performance as a homemaker. He was advocating it as a super important role in society, especially for women to play.
Well, what I find interesting is that you're doing this at a graduation. So these women who you're speaking to already got their degrees. Like maybe you should have told them this 4 years ago. That's how you felt. Like they wasted time and money. That's the case. So it's a little late. But yes. So
why don't you want women to be educated, Charles?
I do. He's the one who said that they should not, because that is not a fulfilling life path or whatever it was. I don't know. Anyway, here we are, episode 31 of the BCM podcast with my co-hosts.
32, I think.
32, Michael Searle, Brad Swale. There they are. Brad's in the neon green and the neon pink hat, like he's ready to go to EDC.
Listen, stop. This is yellow. The top is yellow. 1, 2, like highlighter yellow, and this is not. This is not neon.
Highlighter yellow.
Listen, bitch. I'm wearing the fucking shirt, and this hat is a pain.
Put that hat on. I can't see the glisten.
Oh, you about to tell us that you look pale again, Charles?
The shirt's green.
You just cannot. It's
FYI.
Fuck it. It is not green. And Charles, I'm just going to let everyone know that Charles said that he looks pale, and I think that's impossible for Charles to do.
Well, so clearly we're off to a fiery episode 32. Thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you like, share, comment, and give us some feedback. We are live, so you can give us comments while we are here, and I can relay them to Brad, because most likely they will be in favor of me and against Brad. But
anyway, there have been so many comments in favor of me. What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm unfamiliar with those. But today we are going to be discussing a number of things. We're really excited because it's going to be an interesting show. We're going to do our typical thing, talk a little bit about politics, but we're also going to, for the past couple of weeks, we've been doing Potpourri, which is
a couple of weeks, a long time, dude. Like months, almost the whole time.
Almost the whole show, all 32 episodes we've been doing Potpourri, which is a stray topic that, is kind of out of our wheelhouse, not political in nature. And today, a bulk of the things we're going to be discussing are in that vein. And so, but first, I think we're going to talk about a tweet from a man named James Lindsay that Brad had brought to our attention a couple of days ago, which I find interesting. Brad, if you have it pulled up, please share. But if not, I'll just read it.
No, I can pull it up. I don't have it pulled up right this second. So, okay. But you can bring us in. It's right.
So James Lindsay is Conceptual James on Twitter. I don't know what he does or who he is, but his profile says pro-America, anti-communist, based AF.
Wait, you don't know who James Lindsay is?
No. But he has 500,000 followers, so I guess I'm in the minority here in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he says, few things make me sadder than
pale.
A few things make me sadder than American conservatives who have given up on the Constitution, even without a little bit of fight for it. It's just depressing. So James Lindsay, for those that don't know, Charles, he is a former mathematician, and he gave up his job and career path to study wokeness. And he goes deep. He reads studies and all sorts of stuff. He's written books. He's famously, what's it called? Race Marxism, I think, is his latest book, arguing that all of this woke nonsense, including the transgenderism stuff, is just Marxism packaged in a different package. I'm very eloquent. Which
Didn't he and some other people submit some fake studies to through peer review to get them published in scientific journals? Yeah, that was him. Like the dog park study.
Yeah, it's something along the lines of like male dominated society allows dogs to, like it transfers into dogs, and dogs are misogynistic too, and all this other stuff. It all passes and gets through the peer review process. But yeah, he makes some strong arguments, I think that James does a really great job of explaining what's going on, but his solutions are usually non-existent or stupid. So he goes into this. I just think this is interesting. I don't think he considers himself a conservative, which is fine. I don't care. Charles is also not conservative, pretty communist. But you don't think that's true?
What, that I'm not conservative?
Well, that you're a communist.
Yeah, I'm not a communist, but we can have that debate. Yes, Michael?
He just hangs out with communists. As do I. Can I ask a question first?
Please.
Sure.
Well, two questions. What prompted this? That's my first question. And then second, define conservative. What does that mean?
What prompted this? He's talked about this a lot. Not a lot. He brings it up every once in a while that the Constitution is, what's going to save America. We have to get back to constitutionalism, all this other stuff. And, I get it. It's not unique to him. A lot of people have said that. And what was your other question?
What is the definition of conservative?
Oh, that's a great question. What is the definition? I think it means that you bend over backwards for the Democrats and let them do whatever they want. Right. And just and write strongly worded tweets and letters and just, who cares? And then pretend 10 years down the line, the thing that you fought against 10 years ago is now the norm and you're okay with it. Right.
That's what it seems like.
That's what it seems like, doesn't it? But I just don't. I think this is, I don't know. I think what's the point of the Constitution? What has it done? The government can tax us as much as it wants and give it to anybody that it wants for any amount. They can tell us what cars we can and cannot drive in the future. They can do whatever the fuck they want. Basically, they can start wars. They can kill people. They can do all sorts of stuff. And the Constitution has done jack shit to stop it. I think it's a great set of ideals, some guidelines, but it's open to interpretation as we see all the time.
Right. But I think a big part of this is, one, people are not educated on the Constitution or really on American history as much as they used to be. And so you have these people who are not educated on this stuff and how to apply it. Then they move up the ranks and become judges and elected officials and all this stuff, and then take that kind of half-baked mentality about what they have or about how they see the Constitution and other things and apply that, and it's misapplied. I don't think that we have people who truly understand it and embrace. There are some, but for the most part, people don't truly understand that. And I think when you look down the ballot, you've got like city council members who think, well, the Constitution is not really an issue I need to be concerned about. Like, that's the federal government. And they don't. And so what they do, they completely see it separate and apart from the bigger picture. And so I don't disagree. I think we need some more civil disobedience. I think. So naturally, I'm glad we brought this up because I've been reading this over and over again. Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience. It's like a couple pages. It's an essay, but it's essentially the idea that we elect people, and too often we sit back and think because the majority elected them, they're doing the right thing, and that's it. It is what it is. But that's not the case. Obviously, we sit here and we let people do the worst things and get reelected. We let them steal, rob, cheat, overtax, sell off our assets, do all this stuff. And then we're just like, oh, we hate it. Let's go tweet about it and then do nothing. And we need to do more. We need to be a little disruptive civilly.
Yeah. Thomas Jefferson said famously, we need a revolution every generation. And that's the problem. As each generation has passed, we've eroded and done more things that violate the Constitution to the point where we're at now that it's, as Brad said, meaningless. Not the Republican Party, not the conservatives, minus a few within the Republican Party at a national level have any concern for the Constitution. They have concern for power and what they want to accomplish, and the Constitution is just thrown away, minus the Thomas Masseys, Ron Pauls of the world. The problem is that we've allowed this thing to grow to a point where the Constitution doesn't matter. And what we need is peacefully a revolution, and we probably needed that 250 years ago.
two things. One, if Charles, to your point that these people are not educated, they move up in the ranks and they just kind of do it. They don't know what the Constitution is supposed to, allow them to do or not do or whatever. If the Constitution doesn't stop people like that, then I think it's kind of like, then it's just guidelines, right? It's kind of like, hey, this is what you should do, but yeah, you don't have to because they can do whatever they want.
Yes, but our system is not the misgovernment of the American people is the misgovernment by the American people. That's what Lincoln Steffens wrote. And it's on us. I mean, we are supposed to be the ones holding them accountable. People are fallible. These systems are always going to be messed up. And then it's up to the rest of us to be like, no, you're stepping out of line. Like, you're out of office. You're going to jail, whatever.
How do we hold them accountable?
One, voting for people. Like, I mean, how many times do we vote for people who go there and do exactly like opposite of what they say they're going to do, and then we reelect them because they come back and apologize? Supporting other people. I mean, there's just other ways, and then obviously showing up, whether it's city council, commissioner's court, federal government, their homes at times. I mean, not like inside their homes, obviously, but I think we need to do more. I think the problem is, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately, is that we are so far removed from the days of Adams and Franklin and Hamilton and Hancock and Jefferson and all these guys that in the Constitution that we look at it, and I say we just globally, but we look at it as if it's not real, like that these people didn't really exist and do the things they did. Like the Constitution wasn't like really written as a governing document. It's more just something we talk about, kind of out there in the ether. And we need to recognize these people were real and they did do this stuff. And there's nothing stopping us from doing this stuff today to kind of rein government back in the box that it needs to be in, except the fact that we're all preoccupied with Instagram.
You're such an optimist.
Am I?
Yeah. I mean, the idea that we're going to change things through electing people is, I would say,
that's not the chances.
No. He also said that we have to show up at their houses, Michael.
We have to show up at their houses. The whole system has been built over time corrupted and built over time to support empire and power. And that's really where we're at. There's my Marxist take. The whole thing needs to be torn down.
What does that?
Unfortunately.
And how do we do it? As you said earlier, it needs to be peaceful. How do you do that peacefully?
I don't
know that you can. I'm not advocating violent revolution, but if you want to go back to the Constitution or make the Constitution meaningful, we're not going to do it through the electoral system, which has been corrupted to serve big power and big money and big interests through the donor class. We're not going to do it that way. How is that possible? The agencies have been completely corrupted. The media is completely corrupted. The political parties are completely corrupted. Like what? Okay.
I feel like people are always going to be politically corrupted one way or the other. And that's why we have to have systems in play, like the right systems, not the wrong ones.
But the system can also be corrupted. I don't understand. I mean, if everyone can just interpret it how they see fit and do whatever the hell they want, and they're all, in it for power, they're just going to corrupt the system.
It can be corrupted, but I feel like that's how if we're going to do anything, I feel like that's how you get to a closer point of where you want to be, is by creating a system in which the incentive structure is different or in which the punishment structure is different, so that people are less likely to then abandon those principles and more likely to adhere to them. And then when they don't, you hold them accountable. But you're right. I mean, I don't know how to fix it other than other than civil disobedience.
Well, I think there needs to be personal recourse, personal accountability, as you said, but personal in the sense that if someone does something like, I don't know, shuts down the fucking country and like forces people to take vaccines that are, dangerous and experimental, then they need to be held accountable in their own personal interest, not in their official capacity. Right? If you go on the campaign trail and you just lie through your teeth, do whatever the fuck you want, say whatever you want, and then get in office and do the exact opposite, like there should be personal accountability there.
I agree. And I think yes, but we're never going to get to a place there because, look at cops and qualified immunity. You can't hold them personally accountable for things that they do while on the job because they often hide behind that. And so we're never going to get elected officials who are going to be like, yes, hold us personally liable. We're going to pass that law. Had that been done when the Constitution was written, I think, sure, we'd be in a better place. But I see it very hard getting that passed. If somebody proposed that in the Texas House in January, I don't know that it would pass the House or the Senate.
Right. Of course, the people in power are never going to just say, yeah, hold me personally accountable. Absolutely. I'm just it's only going to get worse. is I think the moral of the story. And this revolution, this peaceful revolution that Michael's talking about, I hope it is peaceful. I hope it's I hope the national divorce that is inevitable is a peaceful, amicable divorce.
I think that civil disobedience, as Charles put it, we've got the two of the, more modern advocates for civil disobedience up there on the wall, is the only way that works.
Talking about his wall, Charles.
Oh, Martin Luther King.
And Martin Luther King is the only way that works. But is it possible? I very much doubt it. And is it the likely outcome? No. And yeah, I mean, how many examples do we have to go through of people at the top who have done things criminal and not been held accountable to be like, that's never going to happen? Yeah, you bring up Fauci and the lockdowns, but like prior to that, the head of the NSA gets in front of Congress and lies that we're not spying on Americans. And what happened to him?
Yeah, right. Nothing.
Nothing.
The system is totally fucked, and the Constitution's not going to save you.
Wait, but Michael, how can you say it's not going to work when only 70 years ago it worked for Martin Luther King and a whole race of people? But so, I mean, you don't think those same tactics would work today?
No, I think I think the tactics would work. I think organizing it around a set of principles it wouldn't work. That would benefit the country is impossible at this point.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work.
Like what is one of the groups that's kind of organizing around a set of principles is Convention of States, right? Let's do a Convention of States, rewrite the Constitution. That seems like a plausible, but that means the people in power are giving up power. So I don't see it as happening.
Anybody that tries to do like civil disobedience and like an MLK type movement or whatever to change things, the media and the power structure that currently exists would turn against it so quickly, and it would fail miserably. They'd be painted as whatever, white supremacist, or if it's a black person, it'd be internalized white supremacy or whatever. They want to bring you back to they want to take it to the Handmaid's Tale, whatever stupid fucking lame cultural reference they're going to use. It's not going to work.
Yeah. I guess my point, and I didn't articulate it super well, was what are the set of principles or things that we are advocating for collectively that we can reach agreement across the aisle? Like what are those things? We're living in completely different worlds. There's like the conservatives or the Republican Party, people who advocate for the party who think they're going to actually change things for the better. And then there's people on the left who are thinking the Democrats are the savior. And then there's all these people in the middle who think it's all bullshit. What are the things that those three groups of people have in common that they could unite behind in a way, the civil rights movement did with MLK? Lack of trust, other than some sort of anti-corruption something.
I mean, distrust of government, anti-corruption, but I mean, those are so vague, such vague, like you know what I'm saying? Like I can't think of one right or one policy that everyone would unify behind, or not even everyone, a majority of people would unify behind in the way that a majority of people unified behind like the civil rights movement. Or I don't even know if the majority did. But I don't know. I can't think of anything.
We're fractured, and the division is intentionally propagated. It's like intentional to keep us apart so that this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The brave new world, guys.
Yes. The brave new world. And that's exactly what Terrance Howard said in that movie that he was in.
Terrance Howard in a movie where he said Brave New World?
No, but he was in Hustle and Flow, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
He was also, I think he was also in his mother's womb and probably acted out in some Shakespeare or something, or he received knowledge from his ancestors, or the ether, the Anunnaki perhaps gave him lots of information. It's a real wild guy, that Terrance Howard.
Did you guys both listen to it?
No.
Okay.
I listened to some of it. He was on. It's just so people know who's on Joe Rogan Experience. There's a little podcast.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, he was on Joe Rogan. He said a bunch of stuff, a bunch of crazy stuff. It mixed in with a bunch of interesting ideas, I thought. But my point, the thing that I wanted to talk about is what allows a Terrance Howard to get so many eyeballs and have so much credibility in on a Joe Rogan podcast, talking about something, having memories from being in the womb and then floating all these alternate theories, is that the what's the word I'm looking for? The authorities of science and media and culture, they've failed on answering all these questions, and it creates space for a Terrance Howard to go out there and launch these crazy theories, and people to be like, that's interesting. I wonder if that's correct. Like, all the authorities in science and history and all of them have completely failed us. They have no answers. They lie. The answers that they do have, they won't budge from. And it allows a Terrance Howard to go on a Joe Rogan and for people to grasp onto what he's saying.
So can someone just tell me kind of some of the things he is saying? Because I'm trying to find it, but I don't know exactly what he all. Oh, I found this. It's a little long. It's 3 minutes. Can you somebody just kind of give me a synopsis of what he said?
It would be hard to summarize what he said. He started the podcast with saying his earliest memories were from actually when he was in the womb, and that in dream states, in trances, he was given access to information that's not available to other people, that has all the answers of the universe. And then he said things like the Anunnaki are real, that the planets were not created as part of a big bang. They were actually birthed from the sun. And because the earth is moving 6 inches away from the sun every year is evidence that at one point, we came out of the sun, and Mars used to be where Earth was, and that people lived here, and it was in the Goldilocks zone, and then it slowly moved out and Earth moved in, and that will happen with Venus. And then he had theories about like the periodic table isn't real, just lots of things. And for me, it was like he hit history, he hit science, and I get it. Like, people are open to believing those things because the stories we're told are such bullshit from the authorities that I'm open to any other crazy idea.
Okay, so you're not necessarily co-signing what he's saying. You're just saying you're open to it because of the way that governments have not been forthcoming with information.
Not just governments, yeah.
Governments and entities who have a vested interest in controlling information.
Yeah. I'm open to the ideas, like, let's take the Earth came out of the sun one. Disprove that to me. I don't know.
Well, I feel like I'm probably trying to prove a negative. Like, how can I disprove that? I can't.
So that's the point. In a truly scientific, if we had an open discourse about these things, the establishment would just say, Terrance Howard, you're fucking crazy. And everybody that believes him's crazy, he doesn't have anything to base this on. They'd be like, okay, that's the theory. Let's test it. How do we test it? I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but let's test it. Let's find out the answer. And that's like a healthy discourse. But right now, and we see this with ancient civilizations, we see it with vaccines, we see it with the food we're putting into our bodies. Like, they just call you crazy. And that creates
food. I only eat microplastics.
Yeah. And that creates an environment for people who have wild theories to be successful. So it's not Terrance Howard's fault. It's their fault.
Here's a little 1 minute clip. Well, I don't know what it's about. We'll see.
Remember the Michelson-Morley experiment from 1887? They were trying to prove whether there was an ether or an effect of an ether, or the quintessence that everything came from. That used to be called the fifth element. That everything that from antiquity, everyone understood that something doesn't come out of nothing. It's like when you look at the air, it looks clear, but you change the pressure condition, the balance of the change of pressure condition, we call that condensation. It creates clouds. And you change the motion conditions, whether it's moving quickly or slowly, it's going to become snow, it's going to become rain, it's going to become hell. So everything comes down to just one of two forces. Either you're breathing in and filling up something, or you pouring it out. But the scientists, they ignored Walter Russell's work because he didn't include any equations inside.
What do you say? What do you say to that, Charles?
Yeah, Michael Rogan. I think I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what he was saying. I mean, I get what he's saying about the water and how the things change things. I don't know. Yeah.
He also talked about he invented a new form of flight which operates off of hydrogen fuel cells, and no one's supposedly talking about it. So Terrance Howard, actor, the world's the longest memory ever. He holds the record for remembering the most for the longest amount of time. He's created a new form of flight, and people are ignoring him. And instead of being a gazillionaire because he invented a new form of flight using hydrogen fuel cells, he's on a podcast talking about it. Now, I agree with Michael that we are told lies constantly from the moment we are, in government schools until we die, and the government and the history, all of it fucks us over every chance that it can get. So it's really, it's enticing. It's almost sexy to like believe this stuff. Everyone else is lying. Well, Terrance Howard, he's talking about fuel cells and a new form of flight. But some of the stuff that he's talking about is just, I mean, it's not like, look, I mean, I'm not saying that everything that he's just 100% wrong on everything, but you didn't invent a new form of flight. It didn't happen. If you did, how do we know? Because we would know about it. There's a new form of flight. Who is stopping him from releasing this information?
So I'm gonna
this podcast.
I'm gonna use an example, and I can't think of the guy's name. I'm gonna botch this example, mess it all up, but I'm sure Michael.
I love it. I love this example already.
I know Michael's gonna know who this is. So there was a guy who created an engine, I think that worked off of water, if I'm not mistaken. And he was about to like show this to the world, and then he was killed, and the paperwork was just I don't know, Michael, can you tell the story?
You're talking about the engine?
There was a guy. Yeah, I don't know the story that well, but there was a guy who built a carburetor that was built off of steam or water or whatever, and it would go. This is in the 1960s, I think, and it would go 300 miles on I don't remember the number. Some ridiculous distance without any gasoline, and he was killed or he was suicided, and all of his documentation lost to the world. But there are like news stories on his technology from the time, and it worked. And the theory is that the oil industry had him nixed because there's competition. And I think Charles's point is there are forces who are invested in keeping the status quo in flight, in science, in politics, in every specter, and they will oppose you in a number of different ways if you have innovations.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that is absolutely true. But this guy that invented a water-powered car that was super efficient, didn't use oil, seems like that actually happened. So there was reason to kill him. Terrance Howard, if he invented a new form of flight, they wanted to keep the status quo, they would kill him, not let him go on the Joe Rogan Experience, or they would do some sort of smear campaign. Like
they did do a smear campaign.
Did they though?
Google him.
I don't use Google.
You're so skeptical. This is like right in your wheelhouse. I don't understand the skepticism.
I don't. I appreciate, because when stuff like this happens, like there's real things that alternative, I don't know, histories or whatever, ways to look at things that are actually beneficial and help people. Right. And whether you're talking about diet, exercise, food, history, government, whatever, all that stuff actually helps. This is just kind of like, I mean, I don't mind. It's an entertaining podcast, an entertaining conversation. I like it for entertainment purposes, and I like that it gets my almonds activated. And I start thinking about it. That's cool. I just don't believe him.
But I mean, he's on a podcast for 3.5 hours with Joe Rogan, and you just say you don't believe him. Like, what don't you believe? Everything
that he remembers being in the womb.
I don't believe that either, but that doesn't dismiss everything else he says.
Agreed.
Joe Rogan spent 3.5 hours with him. Joe Rogan's not a stupid guy. He's open to interesting ideas for sure. He's not an idiot, and he wants to have him back.
Wait, I'm sorry. You guys believe that he created a flying machine, but you don't believe that he remembers inside the womb? Like, I feel like that's the most believable of all the things.
I don't believe that he created a new mode of flying. I don't believe that, because if I invent, guys, I promise you 100%, I can guarantee you this. If I invent a new form of flying, you will know, because I will have tons of money and it will be all over the news and everyone will know about it, because it'll be real.
Not if Boeing gets it first.
Yeah. The interesting thing about this, I don't even remember.
True, right?
Yeah. The interesting thing about this is I don't even remember him saying that he invented a new form of flight. I do remember some other things that I thought were interesting, but I don't know. My main takeaway from it was what I talked about, that authorities have lied to us so much that people with crazy ideas get audience and they get huge numbers like Joe Rogan, and rightfully, because all these stories they're telling us, he goes into the vaccine criticism too. All these stories they're telling us are such transparent bullshit that I'm open to alternative ideas, and I think they're interesting.
Sure, I'm open to alternative ideas too, but just because something is alternative doesn't mean I'm going to just like it's in my wheelhouse, I'm just going to believe it.
True.
That I agree. I hear both sides of this. I don't know I haven't watched it, so I don't even know what he's really talking about. But I definitely know that in Look Who's Talking 1 and 2, the baby remembered inside the womb of Kirstie Alley. And so and same thing. And so when he said Fifth Element, I immediately thought of the 1997 film Fifth Element. And,
did you look that up, what year it came out, or do you know that off the top of your head?
No, I knew that. That was my favorite movie for a long time.
It's a good, you probably like Chris Tucker.
Who's Chris? Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Who's Chris Tucker?
Because he's black?
No, because he hangs out with Jay-Z and Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein.
Drinks blood.
Look,
okay.
I don't believe him. I think that he's probably full of shit. I'm open-minded about it. If he's right, he's right, and I'll eat my words, and I'll be happy to eat my words. I just think that it really damages the credibility of like other like real things, right? I mean, it kind of like maybe he's saying some real stuff in there, and the elements are all actually, it's not about size and it's about the frequency of the sound and all this other stuff, and maybe that's correct. I don't know. But when you say shit like I remember being in my mother's womb and getting knowledge passed down to me from the Anunnaki, it kind of, throws other things like all right, well then who cares about the element, the periodic table? Because you just said this other crazy shit. It's hard to believe. It's hard to know what to believe. It throws people off.
Yeah, no, I agree. That my friend texted me about it and was like, "You have to watch this." And so I watched it and I texted him. I was like, "He's like the crazy person on the side of the road who's screaming about all sorts of things, but there's like little nuggets of truth in there." That was my initial reaction. I don't think we're saying different things.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we talked this one to death. No, this is a good conversation. I appreciate it.
Who's your favorite character in Fifth Element?
I don't know the name, but the blue,
the blue bitch.
Shot. Yeah, the one that gets shot.
The one that has the singer.
Yeah, the opera singer.
It's disappointing that your favorite character is not Chris Tucker, because that's the best character.
I mean, that whole scene with the opera singer when she gets shot, it's like so dramatic, and Chris Tucker's like, oh my God. Anyway. So next topic, we're switching gears because next we're going to do kind of just a round of potpourri to mix things up. And so the first question I have is, what is the most dangerous thing you've done or dangerous situation you've been in, and why? Brad. Michael.
Michael's starting.
I'm starting.
Well, you started talking before me, so go ahead.
Okay. Most dangerous situation I've ever been in was the question that I heard. Most dangerous thing I've done. Okay. When I was a freshman in college, this is going to be so, when I was a freshman in college, I was leaving a girl's apartment and I was a little tipsy, and I decided to slide on my butt down the railing of the stairs.
Really,
she was on the fourth floor. I got on there and I went over backwards. And I did a flip in a stairwell and landed on my feet and my foot and my butt on the bottom, 4 stories down on the bottom stair.
God.
Wait, you fell 4 stories, landed on your feet, and
Not on my feet, on my foot and my ass.
Foot.
You landed on your butt 4 stories down.
I fractured my foot. Yes. I fractured my foot and I had a bruise on my butt the size of my left butt cheek, but that was it.
Oh, so, like, did you call her and be like, "Hey, I just fell down the stairs," or did you sneak out?
No, she called me the next day. I had to go to the hospital. She called me the next day and was like, "Did you hear what happened at Trop?" This is like last night. Some guy fell 4 stories. I was like,
"You don't say."
That was mean. That was one of my first times. I was like, if there's not a God, I don't know what the heck just happened there, because I should have died. That's
crazy. That's 4 stories. Yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you.
No. It was bad.
Brad.
I mean, I was thinking about this a lot. And I'm trying to think of like how to answer this question. Like, what does any memory like really stick out in my mind? And I don't know. I was always like physical risks. I've always been pretty averse to. I don't know. Like when I was a kid, like taking those risks, jumping off stuff, whatever. Like I was really scared. Lake Austin, we had a boat when I was growing up on Lake Austin, and there was a cliff that my brothers would jump off of. And when I finally got to the age where I could do it, I went up there and they had to like yell at me for an hour before I would jump off. I was so terrified of jumping into the water. But probably the most dangerous shit that I've done is stuff that I'm not proud of. It's not a cool story where I like fall 4 stories and, you know, like just break my foot like I'm some sort of superhuman. It kind of sounds like a Terrance Howard story, to be honest. But the I mean, I've done. I mentioned the other week when we were talking about race that when I was in New Orleans, experiencing racism, I was dressed, you know, for Halloween downtown or on Bourbon Street or whatever it was, and there was a group of I really think that if I hung around longer, that group of African American gentlemen would have really badly hurt me. That was, I think, a close call. I've driven absolutely plastered many times in my 20s, and that's disappointing. And gosh, I hope my children don't do that same stupid thing. But fuck, it was like literally, I don't know how I got home. And I think we probably all have those stories. I hesitate to even bring it up publicly, but I mean, it is what it is. Luckily, nothing happened, and I do mean luckily. I've eaten blowfish. Does that count as dangerous? I don't know.
I mean, can't they slice it wrong and you die? I mean,
yeah. But I wasn't in fear of my life. Well, I just, you know, everyone else is eating it and I'll eat it. Sure, why not? You know, I don't know. I guess I could have died. I could have got the piece that was bad.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's kind of like, I can't think, nothing sticks out. Like I fell 4 stories.
I mean, you just named like a handful of things.
Are those cool stories? I don't know. You know?
It doesn't have to be cool. It's just one where your life was put in danger or you put yourself in danger for some purpose.
I mean, my life has been in danger of no fault of my own. Does that count?
Yeah, it's a dangerous situation.
Okay, well, I was born with a heart condition and it was corrected when I was 9, maybe 8 or 9, 8, no, 7, 8, whatever. I don't know. And what would happen is I couldn't have like excessive amounts of sugar or caffeine or any sort of stimulant up until I had that corrective surgery. And because what would happen is my heart would start beating really fast to like go up to the maximum and just not stop. So like when you're doing a sprint, your heart rate elevates to its maximum heart rate. And your body physiologically is telling you can only maintain this for so long. And once you can't do it anymore, your body forces you to stop. Like you can't keep going. My heart would just keep going and keep beating. And if we couldn't stop it, then I would have to go to the hospital because it would stop beating. There was a lot of stuff that we could do at home. You could I would dunk my face into ice, like an ice bath, and I could feel my heart like reset.
Wow.
Just the shock of it. But I think when I was maybe 6 or 7, and this was kind of like the final straw, like for my mom, my heart they couldn't. Everything we did at home would not stop the heart racing, and so they took me to the hospital, and my heart stopped beating for a considerable amount of time, and they had to use the paddles.
Oh wow!
To bring. You remember being dead?
I mean, I have vague, like very blurry memories of like that moment in my life, but I don't remember being dead. No, I remember like instances where that happened in my life. Like I was at a movie theater once and my heart started racing and I had to leave. I remember vividly many times dunking my head in ice water and how uncomfortable that was. And like the strange sensation of my heart beating super, super fast and all of a sudden like resetting was kind of weird. I remember the surgery the day after. I also remember choosing banana flavored anesthesia, which was a huge mistake. And I flipped the fuck out as I was going under. Like they had to tie me down. It smelled so bad. I hated it.
Yeah, I don't know why you put banana flavor.
I was a kid and they gave me options like, hey, these are the flavors that you can choose from. It's like blueberry, strawberry, banana, vanilla. I don't know. And I just chose banana. How the fuck am I supposed to know what anesthesia is going to taste like?
Banana.
So okay. Banana. And ever since then, whenever I get like a whiff or like that sort of flavor, maybe it's dissipated since then, but like for a long time, it would make me feel like icky.
Interesting. Damn, it's a handful of dangerous moments you've been in. But glad you made it through them all.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Charles.
Anytime.
What you got, Charles?
Oh, let's see. Okay, so I think I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but I think I told you guys when I was in Guatemala in that shootout. I think that was one of the more dangerous times. I think, but probably the most dangerous thing I've been in. I was in. Oh man, I graduated high school. It was probably like 21, 22. I used to drive into New York to go to the clubs and stuff, but for whatever reason this time we took like the bus. And we were going to like a rave at a warehouse. And so we were in the city until like 5 a.m. And now we take the bus back. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't 5 a.m. It was like 2 or 3 a.m. because we got the last bus out of the city back to New Jersey. But the bus took this like long roundabout way. And we were in like this town called Patterson, which is like the ultimate hood. And the bus was like, this is it. Like, this is final stop. Like, you guys got to get out. And our phones were dead, like on 1%. They weren't dead yet, but like 1%. It was me and two of my friends. And we're in the middle of Patterson, like at 2:33 in the morning. Like, what are we supposed to do? He's like, I don't know. You got to get out. So we get out and we're walking down the street and we have like a little bit of services before Uber, before anything. So we call a taxi service and no one's on the street, but we're walking down the street towards like the direction of where we live. We were like 20 miles from home, but like we were walking the direction and we come across this gas station and there's like 30 guys at this gas station and they're all like in their like Civics and Acuras and they're out there having a good time.
Are they Asian?
No, they were black. It's a pretty black neighborhood. And so it's the three of us walking on the side of the street. We look across the street. We see these like 30 guys over there having the time of their life. And we see them kind of get quiet and look at us and we're like, fuck. Like, this is like and so my friend Chris is like, where's this cab? I'm like, I don't know. So we're walking and they all start walking over to us. And I'm like, this is going to end terribly. By the grace of God, like by the time they got to the end of the street and we got ready to start running, we see this cab coming down the street. It was the only car in the street. We're like, thank God. And we got in that car and got away. I don't know what would have happened, but it wasn't going to end pretty. I can tell you that.
Sounds like a Guatemalan shootout is worse than that.
I mean, I don't know. Getting jumped is not fun.
No, of course not. No one's saying it's fun. That reminds me of a story, but go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, I'll have to tell you guys about the time I got robbed at gunpoint.
Why is that not your story? You fell 4 stories. That's interesting. You fell 4 stories. I'm going to brother foot. You got robbed at gunpoint.
I should have died in that stairwell.
And maybe get shot.
How do you flip? Never mind. We've gone back, and the stairwell is not that wide, and I'm big. And like, how did I flip? I've gone over this. Anyways,
yeah.
I'll tell you the story of getting held up at gunpoint. It's not that good of a story, but it happened.
My dad took me and a friend to a movie here in Austin. I was maybe 8 years old, 9 years old. Dropped us off, maybe 10. I don't know. Probably 10. And he dropped us off, and this was back in the day of pagers. And he gave me a quarter or whatever to use the payphone to page him when we're done and just page 911. And he knows that's us and we need to come get picked up when the movie's done. And the movie got out at maybe, I don't know, 9, 10 p.m. And he didn't show up. We must have been in middle school. He didn't show up when I paged him. Another story of my dad. And so we just walked home down Lamar, like a super busy street, miles in the middle of the night, like two 10-year-olds just hanging out, thinking nothing of it. No big deal. There was no threat of like being jumped, but I mean, I guess something bad could have happened.
At 10, walking down the street at that hour.
Yeah.
You never know. Well, those are some interesting stories, fellas. All right. So next,
I figured y'all would take a bigger bite out of that story about my dad, considering the one I told last week.
Well, I'm not gonna. Yeah.
I know.
We need a whole.
Michael's wheels are turning.
We're gonna have a whole show dedicated to daddy issues.
Oh God. Father's Day's coming up. It might be.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We all got them. Next one. Are you currently pursuing what makes you happy? Why or why not, Brad?
On this podcast? Yeah. No, I love what I do. I love doing podcasts and radio and all the other things that I'm doing. And most importantly, I'm happy being a dad. So yeah, of course. I mean, there's no greater joy in life than being a father. I mean, maybe a mother might compete, maybe, but there's no greater joy that a man can feel than just being a father. And whatever, people can't have kids because they're whatever medical reason, fine. Like, you can still adopt, whatever. Like nothing compares. It's great. So yeah, of course I am.
Right, Michael.
Yeah. Same.
I think pursuing kind of meant not. Anyway, go ahead. That's fine. That's a great answer.
Pursuing meant not what?
Like I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, I like Brad's answer. I took it to mean, are you currently pursuing makes you happy? I figured more in like a purely professional sense, but I guess personally it applies to.
Yeah. I mean, I think absolutely. I'm the same. Absolutely. Like family was, I know we're not doing personal, but having a family has always been a super high thing on my list, if not the highest. And we're building, we got a baby coming July 11th. That's going to radically change my life. On the professional front, am I pursuing what I love? It's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think I'm pursuing what I love. I think I'm pursuing what I'm good at. And I think it has a runway that will get me to where I want to be in 10, 15 years. I think that's the real answer. Do I love it? I really like it most days of the week, but do I love it? No, if I could do anything and money wasn't an option, it probably wouldn't be this, but I'm good at it. It can get me to where I want to be long-term. And one of your other questions, this kind of feeds into, I have a very specific set of goals at 55, and will it lead me there, enable me to get there and have ultimately what I want? Yeah. I mean, life's a process. And like you make sacrifices and you do things you don't want to do. And like you have responsibilities and like all of that plays in. Am I pursuing what I love? Yeah. Overall, yes, I think is the answer.
What do you love, Michael?
What do I love? I love my family and my friends.
But as far as what you're, yes, we love our family and friends. I know that. I know you know that. We all know that about you. And us, right? Charles doesn't love his friend, but he does. He's not full of love, but he doesn't have the capacity for it, I think. So what is if you could do, like, what if money was no option, you could do anything, pursue the one thing that you love, what would it be?
Do a podcast and read books and golf. Like the
Joe Rogan experience.
Well, I don't care if it's big. I just like talking about interesting stuff, but like a job I see a job or a career, or, I have friends who do what they love. I think that's the exception. I see it as a means to an end. And like life is more about the relationships and the things that you have, well, not like materially, but like I want to be healthy and I want to, retire at 55 so I can spend time with my family and watch my kids grow and stuff like that. Like that's intangible and it's not related to a profession necessarily. but a profession can help me achieve those things. So that's kind of how I view it. But I like taking my little bit of money and investing in things like I like doing that kind of stuff, but you got to have means to achieve all those things. So my point is, like, I like what I do, and it's leading me to a bigger goal for me.
You know, if you just open your mind a little bit and downloaded a little bit more information from the ether, the Anunnaki might give you the knowledge and power to do this stuff, and you wouldn't have to work. You can do all the things that the universe will provide. Create a vision board, and the universe will provide. It's called The Secret.
Thanks, Mom.
Oprah.
The Secret. That's funny. My turn. Am I pursuing what makes me happy? I think so. I think I've started doing, like, these past couple of years, I just started doing whatever. So that's like jumping off of shit and climbing stuff and going places and doing whatever I want to do, rather than feeling, because I used to be really risk averse. And after a while, I was like, well, I felt like I wasn't really living life. And so now I'm just like doing stuff that could potentially kill me. It's very interesting because I find myself, the closer, it sounds extreme, but it's not that extreme. The closer that, like, I am to death in an activity makes me feel like more alive. And I just mean that in the sense that, like, the riskier it is, or like whatever it is, like, I'm starting to just kind of value life a little more, in the sense that it could be gone in a second. So I'm going to do whatever this crazy thing is. So in that sense, love it, happy. The professional sense, I think I'm pursuing what makes me happy. I don't think steps. So say I'm at step 1 right now, and step 10 is the end of the pursuit. Steps 2 through 9, I don't like very much, or that's not what makes me happy, but I know that's what it takes to get to step 10. And so I'm pursuing what makes me happy, but am I there? No. Do some days suck? Yes. Most days are better than other. There are more good days than bad. So yes, I'm happy with that. But I'm not in a place like where, like, I would have pursued everything that I would love. Like, I don't, I'd rather be living, like, not on a ranch, but
Why not on a ranch?
Huh?
Why not on a ranch? Ranch life sounds fucking awesome. That's what I want. Why not on a ranch?
Well, I wouldn't mind being on a ranch. Unfortunately, I just wouldn't have any neighbors. But I would prefer, like, I like living in the city, and so I would prefer to live in, like, a penthouse somewhere, or a high rise something. But I think, like, ultimately, if I was going to live in a ranch, yeah, I'd want to live, like, somewhere in a remote, like Argentina or somewhere in a ranch.
If you get your way, there will be no ranches to live on.
Wow.
So
next question. What is at the top of your bucket list, Michael Searle?
Top of my bucket list, having a daughter, and then
but you're having a son, correct?
I am having a son, yeah.
So number two, you're hoping is a daughter.
Or 3 or 4.
Yeah. No, 2. Yeah, that'd be good, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. And then, can I say this on the show?
Yeah. What are you going to say?
You can, absolutely. Say it.
Ayahuasca.
Oh.
Why wouldn't you be able to say that? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ayahuasca.
Like a full ceremony, not just like some, like you and Charles go hang out in his Houston apartment and, like, do ayahuasca.
Yeah.
You want to go to, like, the jungles of Peru.
Mother ayahuasca.
Yeah. Amazon. Exactly. Peru, northern Peru. Do a retreat. That's pretty high on my list. It's been on there for a while. So, yeah.
Brad.
Is it my turn? It's interesting that you let us go first, but that's fine.
I want to go first. Second.
Well, yeah, you're not first. You're second.
The top of my bucket list. There are a couple things. I want to, I want to climb a mountain, like, above, like, 15,000, 16,000 feet, but I can't because I have this spleen issue. And so if I was able to get my spleen removed, then that would be great. But I don't think that's an elective.
You have to go into more detail. What the hell's going on
with my spleen?
Yeah.
Oh, when I go up to high altitudes, my spleen swells and can get to the point of possibly rupturing. And so I get this really, like, horrible pain, and I can't eat and all this stuff. And so I can't do extreme high altitudes for an extended period of time. Like, I can skydive.
This sounds like another Terrance Howard story, but
that's exactly it. So mountains, but that's not going to happen, obviously. I think top of bucket list. I don't know. Get my skydiving license. That's up there. Get a motorcycle. Like I kind of want to get a motorcycle. I was looking at maybe doing that this summer. Get my motorcycle license. Get a motorcycle. But if I can do that in a heartbeat, then that's not really top of the bucket list now, is it? There are a couple of like long, multi-day or week-long. Oh, I'll tell you one. There is a pilgrimage in Spain that I would like to do, the Camino de Santiago, and it's like a multi-week long walk from one place to another. And you can do it through Spain, Italy, a number of countries out there. But that's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I probably won't be able to do for a couple decades until I can take like 4 or 5 weeks to go walking. So probably that.
Couple decades.
Cool.
I mean, I can't take off like 5 weeks and just go walking in freaking Europe.
Why not?
At work. Got stuff to do. I don't know.
Well, I don't believe you. I think that you could do it.
What's your top of your bucket list?
Well, actually, I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to Spain, and I'm going to do this pilgrimage like 2 weeks. So you guys are going to have to do the show without me for a little while. And then when that's done, I'm going to fly down to the Amazon. I'm going to do an ayahuasca ceremony. So what's on my bucket list is really just doing the things that other people wish they could do. And it really fulfills my life pretty handsomely, honestly. So it's pretty cool. I love it. What's on my bucket list? I mean, those are great ideas. I mean, I would love to do an ayahuasca ceremony. I don't know if it's the top of my bucket list, but sure, I would love to go do a real one. I've met people that, run those places and through a past podcast that I've done, and that would be cool to do. But it's kind of like it's difficult to take that much time off, and I don't know. Do you trust them? You go do that? I don't know. It's kind of weird. I would love to have a property in Costa Rica. I would love to have a ranch. I would love to go do like a survival training, like camping, like 1 month course. Like a 28. There's a Boss outdoor survival school in I think Utah. I don't know if I've talked about this on the show or not, or I've talked to y'all about it off the show. Yeah. I don't know. But they do like 7, 14, and 28-day courses. It'd be awesome to do a 28-day course. Because the world, I mean, there's definitely going to be like a world-ending event in my lifetime, and I would love to know how to survive it.
I mean, I don't know.
Definitely.
Maybe.
What? Y'all think this shit is just going to keep going in perpetuity?
In your lifetime, I don't know that there's definitely going to be a world-ending event.
Yeah. When I say world-ending, when I say world, I don't mean like everyone's.
No, I know.
Just like the world as we know it will no longer exist. And how do I know this? I was told this when I was in my mother's womb.
By the shiitakes, they told you?
The shiitake spoke to me. I ate some shiitake, a hero's dose of shiitake mushrooms, and I was told this.
Okay,
Wait, y'all don't think that's going to happen in our lifetimes?
A world-ending event? A world as we know it ending event? No. Would you? Okay, wait. Quick question. Would you consider COVID a world-ending as we know it event, or no?
I mean, it definitely changed society, but no.
Okay, then no. I think
that's the warm-up.
The last one that I can think of was 11,600 years ago when a series of comets hit the Earth and plunged us out of the Ice Age and killed all the woolly mammoths and all that stuff. That was 11,600 years ago. That was like 8,000 generations.
I mean, I'm talking about like civil wars and depressions and nuclear wars and that sort of stuff. But maybe there's a natural disaster too. Maybe a super volcano shoots off, it pops off, gets a little wild. Who knows?
Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe we enter another Younger Dryas.
Look at Charles. I promise you, 33 weeks ago, he would have never known what Younger Dryas was. Look at you. Are you doing that? Did you do the thing on purpose?
Wow. Okay, last question before you wrap up.
iPad?
Who, me?
No, Michael.
What?
Are you on your iPad or iPhone or something like that?
No.
Because you did a thumbs up and it did a little thumbs up emoji.
Oh,
it didn't do it this time.
I saw it too.
I saw it. We're not crazy. There's also one with hearts. I don't know if it's going to do it or not. But
last question. What is your personal philosophy?
What?
What is your personal philosophy? Brad.
You're going first, bitch.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you haven't gone first on any of these.
All right, well, they're my questions.
Oh.
My personal philosophy, it's so I don't know. I kind of like try to guide most of the stuff that I do by a Frederick Douglass quote that says, and I'm paraphrasing in a sense, but I'll work with anyone to do good and almost no one to do bad. And so I like to keep myself open to working with people and collaborating in whatever sense, regardless of where we stand on issues and not political issues, just like life, whatever. As long as the product of what that collaboration is something good and something that I can stand behind it. So that's in life and that's in professional, personal life. You know, I like to look at it like that. And I don't know, man. I just try to be happy. You know, I just try to wake up every day and be grateful. I've been practicing gratitude a lot more lately, every morning, trying to just kind of run through my mind of things that I'm grateful for. Just to actually have like a deeper appreciation for it. Cause I feel like for a lot of my life, I just ran through stuff and, you know, got lucky here, this, that, the other, and didn't really, you know, appreciate it. And so I'm trying to do more of that. And then I just don't hold on to things anymore. You know, I don't necessarily subscribe to stoicism, but I do agree with the idea that things happen that you cannot change and you can't sit there and like dwell on them. And so I've gotten into a mindset of really just like something happened. It's not good or bad. It just is. And like, I'm going to move forward. I take what I can do. It's all about what I put out, not so much the outcome. I can't attach myself to the outcome. I can only attach myself to what I put out there into the world. It's my philosophy.
Okay. That's great. Yeah, I was like a little. It's a very broad question. I went a kind of a different direction with it. Like, what's my philosophy? So there's a couple things. My philosophy is driven by my experience as a kid. There's a great book out there for people called Adult Children of Alcoholics. So if you grew up in a very tumultuous alcoholic family, which I did, daddy issues. People assume certain roles in the family, and I was the middle child. I assumed the very middle child role, and it serves me well. It's debilitating at times too, which is two things. You're the peacemaker, so you can really try to understand both sides of things. No. So when I approach issues or whatever, I'm very open to. I have very strong opinions, but I'm very open and compassionate about both sides of an issue. But in terms of like my philosophy, this is another outgrowth of that, is like when you're in such an uncontrolled environment, you figure out ways to control it, to like control the things around you. So I've applied that in my life to, I think, positive ways, which is I have a freaking plan for everything. I have like a framework. I have like goals and like steps to achieve those goals for everything. Gratitude being one of them. Like one of my goals is just to be a happy person. And like, so in my daily routine, like that's my goal. In my daily routine, I have steps and things I do every single day to ensure that I meet that goal. One of which is to write down 2 things that I'm grateful for every morning. Like, and I do that in every facet. Like if I want a ranch, we want a farm. We have goals and annual things we try to achieve each year. So I would say my personal philosophy is like, know where you're going and build a path for yourself to get there, and make incremental, get base hits every day. Like little things you can do to achieve those goals every day. And like whatever you want, you can have it. Just, you have to work at it. It's hard work. You got to have structure, and you got to have a plan, and you got to know where you're going. Otherwise, there's just so much happening in life, and you're making decisions. And if there's no guiding structure for why I'm doing things during my day, you just can kind of get lost. Yeah. So structure and discipline are like really important to me in terms of how I approach the day in my life.
It's amazing. I like it.
I have a 20-year Gantt for my life.
Holy fuck.
It's crazy. It's like
I'm not surprised. Exactly. You know,
it's borderline clinical.
That's funny.
What is my philosophy for life? Tell the truth and do good by people. and just be open about, similar to Michael. I have a lot of strong opinions, but I'm compassionate and understanding that not everyone has been exposed to the same information that I've been, and I've not been exposed to the same information that everybody else has. So it's impossible for us to all have the same opinion, and that's okay. But just tell the truth and just do good. And it's probably easier. It's easier to say don't do bad than to do good, but it sounds better to say do good. But don't do bad is a lot easier, because it's a lot easier to know what is the wrong thing to do. It can be really hard to know what the good thing is sometimes, not always.
Yeah.
But knowing I know what, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. I don't know what, it's easier to say don't do to others what you don't want them to do to you, right? Knowing the negative is a lot easier. So I don't know. That's kind of how I operate. I don't have a 20-year Gantt chart, but I got goals, got things I want to do. How am I going to get there? I don't know. We'll see.
One step at a time.
One step at a time. Yep.
My little strategy charts. My life is in one of those charts.
I know. I mean, it's not surprising at all. And I admire you a lot, Michael, and the things that you've achieved and your reputation. All of that stuff is great. And so I'm not surprised that you have a 20-year Gantt chart for your life. It's a little bit psychotic, but maybe.
Hey,
hold on. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's the right thing to do. Maybe
it's working.
If it's working, it's working. I can keep going for it. I'm not saying stop.
There's probably a balance. I was talking to my mentor the other day, and I know we're running over time. He's like, what would it look like if you didn't have that to-do list, Michael? Every day. My to-do list is a spreadsheet the size of B, because it has each of these sections based on my goals that, like, what are you doing in the
that's
he's
smart.
like what would you do without that without that list? So I did it for a week. It was horrible. It's like a crutch. I'm like addicted to it. So Brad, your point is well taken. There's probably a happy medium where I'm like less psychotic about it, and it probably is more productive. So I'm like starting to think about that.
I'm just saying it. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying.
No offense.
I'm using the colloquially. It's a little psychotic. Just locker room talk. You know what I mean?
I'm glad we ended it on this note. I thought this was a great ending of the conversation. I picked up some good points from the two of you about how to live my life and my philosophy. I'm going to go make a day-by-day goal sheet on Microsoft Excel now. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Let us know if you enjoyed this new model that we tried today. Make sure you like it, you share it, tell your friends, your family, subscribe, and give us some feedback. We'd love to hear it. We're always ears. And if there's something interesting happening and you want us to talk about it, please let us know. Anything else to say, guys?
Barack Obama made a surprise appearance at Joe Biden's White House state dinner for Kenya.
Oh.
Which I thought was maybe a little on the nose.
See y'all later.